Anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Stewart. I am a macro photographer. I'm not an OM Systems ambassador. Okay, just to let you know. No, I'm not an ambassador, okay? I'll just use the gear that works and does the job. Simple as that. My journey started in 2016 when I photographed a zebra jumping spider. When I posted that online, I didn't get no likes, no comments, and I wondered, why was that? Well, because it sucks. And what happened then is I got into trying to find out how to photograph jumping spiders, how to get the most out of my equipment, which at that time was budget-friendly equipment. And that's what started on my journey, and that's how my YouTube started, because my friends said they'd like to see the journey of my macro photography rather than me just teach it. So I'm going to talk briefly, maybe half an hour, about the gear that I use, but I'm going to talk about where I've come from. The gear I first used was the Canon 650D. I then moved on to a full frame camera, which is the Canon EOS R. Then from there, I've now moved to micro four thirds and the Olympus system, which in my opinion is one of the best gear for macro photography. All of the gear I have over here. So if anyone wants to come up and have a look at the gear, you can hold it, you can have a play with it. And Olympus is a micro four thirds camera. So the sensor is a quarter the size of the full frame. This entire setup you see on the screen, which is over here. And again, you're all welcome to come over and take a look at it. That costs less than £1,000. If you want to go down the avenue of macro photography and you want a really good setup, then micro four thirds is the one to go for, because it gives us some advantages over full frame cameras. So what you see on the screen now is your typical size of sensors going from full frame, APS-C and micro four thirds. And you can see the size difference between the full frame and the micro four thirds. And what this does is it gives us a crop factor of 2 times. So anything you put onto that camera, you have to 2 times it. So if you put on a 60mm lens, it then becomes the focal length or the field of view of a 120mm lens. And the crop factor gives you a perceived magnification boost. Now, it's not optical, it's merely cropping in. So if you take your full frame camera and you crop in, that's effectively what you're doing. Since then, I have been sent this little bad boy. Okay, I'm not an ambassador. It sounds like it, doesn't it, Lee? Anyway, so tonight I'm going to be using a camera setup that's been on loan from OM Systems. This is the OM1 MK2 with the 90mm macro lens on there. I have the Godox V350O version 3, and we have a Cygnustech Diffuser on top of there, okay? And again, you're welcome to come and have a play with all the gear. So to help us get the shots that we want tonight, I am going to be using a platypod system. So what I want to do, I just want to show you some quick pictures of the jumping spiders, because unfortunately we don't have time tonight to edit any of the pictures. It's from my EOS R with the EF 100mm from Laura. Again, equipment really doesn't matter until you start getting into the high-end focus stacking. I like some sort of interaction with my spiders when I'm starting to photograph them there. So if they're looking around, looking up, looking to the side, I like that type of interaction. Right, so before I get the spiders out there, I want to set up a scene. And what we have to do here is decide what do you want to do. Did anybody see my video last week? I think it was. Paper, where we create a seamless background. So it's like that, like you would do in a portrait studio. You've been in portrait studios, you've got seamless paper backgrounds. We create that for a macro environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my platypods. There we go. So if you want to have a look at a platypod. So all it is just a little tripod that you can put well, you can put all kinds of accessories onto it. So if you notice, if you look here, we've got all kinds of little holes. So we can link accessories into the platypod. We can put a tripod head onto it. Very useful for all kinds of macro stuff. So that's platypod. So we're going to be using that. And then we have some elbows. So if you want to pass those around and have a look at those. And then onto those, we're going to put on a mini super clamp. So it's just a little clamp. So our mini super clamp will attach to one of our elbows. Literally, that's all the setup will require. Now, you don't need 2 of these, you only need 1, but I'm going to use 2 because it's safer for the spider. So the simple thing to do, and you can do this at home if you've got some clips, is all you want to do is create that shape. So you've got a seamless paper background. And for macro, that's like having a massive, it's like this room. You know, when the spider's on there, it's going to be really small, so you just need that. So there is our seamless paper background. What we are going to be doing here now is we're going to bring out a spider. We'll probably do the photography after the break. So I wanted you to have a look at all the gear, okay? But when the spider comes out, the spider's going to go onto this paper, hopefully not run away. Right, it's going to go onto that piece of paper, hopefully not run away, and we're going to be able to photograph it, and we're going to get a nice seamless background. That's in macro photography we don't want distractions in the background, so I like my vibrant seamless backgrounds for these jumping spiders. It's also a very, very easy setup to do. You can do this on your tabletop at home. We'll do the photography later, but we've got to set up the camera. But what I want to do is just show you some more images. So here's a favourite image of mine. This is one of my favourites because it was taken on the 650D, and it just shows that you don't need the latest, greatest gear to do macro photography. You just need something that works for you. And on this one, I created a grass bridge and then sprayed water droplets on it, and literally just put a flower in the background and had the spider run across the bridge. And luckily for me, right in the centre of the frame, she turned around and looked at the camera. You couldn't really make that up, you know. We've tried several times to recreate this image. It's just not happened because the spider won't turn around. Got another shot here. This is an example of the paper background that we are going to be doing tonight. This is the type of shot you can get, and that's taken on the Canon EOS R, which is over there. So again, I'm one of them photographers that I won't tell you to buy certain gear. I won't say go and buy the OM system gear, because I myself use several different systems, and I feel it's important for me to use several different systems so I can recommend to you what to get for your camera. And everything you're learning here tonight with the seamless paper background and all your settings, you'll be able to use that out in the wild, which is this is the image we've done out in the wild. This is quite some time ago now, this is. So in this country we have a zebra jumping spiders. You've probably seen them in your house. They've got little black and white stripes on them. They'll crawl up your house, up your walls, all over the place. You see them all over the place, you do, the little zebra jumping spiders. So what we're going to do is set the camera up so that when we come back from the break, we can get straight into the photography, because the photography could take anything from 2 minutes to 2 hours. So again, this one is the OM1 MK2 with a 90mm macro lens on here. This is a 2x macro lens. To get the same field of view, if you've got a full frame camera, you'd have to use a 4x macro lens to get the same magnification. So it is a very, very good setup for macro photography. When it comes to macro photography, I'm always looking for instances where I can use focus bracketing to get a decent stack. So when it comes to that, I want to keep my settings as close as possible to the settings I would use for stacking, so I haven't got to faff around in the field if we find a subject that keeps still. So typically I'll use 1/100th of a second, because again, we are using flash for the lighting. We're going to start out at f14 I'm going to go to. Okay, so with this particular setup, f14 is the upper limit I would take it to before diffraction starts kicking in. Yeah, that's one of our spiders. He is a male regal jumping spider. You can tell by the patterning and the colour on his face, which you can't see at the moment because he's got it buried into his hammock. And again, at the break, you can come up and have a look at the spiders as well. Okay, so that is the same jumping spider again. And that is taken on the same gear that we are going to be using tonight. And that is a 25 image focus stack. So we're going to get onto the fun part now, and that is the actual photography of the jumping spider. So the first thing we want to do is, whenever we do any type of macro photography that features an insect, we want to get down to its level. So you want to be at its level or lower, because you don't want to be photographing it from above because it looks awful. So I'm going to bring this right up close to the table. That way I can get my lens right up to the edge of the paper, and there's no lines, there's no cut off, and I ain't going to fix that afterwards. Just try and get it right in camera as much as possible. And we have our little jumper spider. She's just here. Okay, so we're going to put her on there. The capture cup is there solely because I'm talking to you. If I wasn't talking to you and teaching, I wouldn't need it, because I could concentrate on the spider. But while she's in that cup, I know she's safe and she hasn't run off anywhere, because if she runs off over here, I'm not going to find her. We're going to try and get a shot now of the jumping spider. And what I'm going to do, let me just show you this. All I'm going to do is lift the capture cup up and then just try and get a shot of her when she's here. She might get spooked because we've moved her from her, not necessarily her enclosure, but from the bedroom. So what I have to do first is make sure my camera is set up, because I've turned it off. We're back at f8, so I need to pop that up to f14. And what I need to set up is the magnification. Let's take a look. I'm going to set it to 2 times just so you can see how close you can get with this camera. So that's her underbelly. You can see there that there's no way we're getting her in that frame. So I'm going to set it to just below 1:1. So if you're using full frame cameras and you want to have a go at this, a one-to-one lens will give you the same similar look that you're seeing here. Okay. Yeah, so we are about one-to-one full frame equivalent. This is what I was saying. It's completely random as to how we're going to do this. There she is. I think that's all you're going to get from her. So just to keep her safe, I'll pop her back into the capture cup and we'll take a look at the shots. Yeah, we've nailed the eyes. Can you see that? Essentially, again, you're at the rim of the jumping spider or your subject. It'd be the same if you're photographing a ladybird. If it doesn't want to keep still, it's not going to keep still. But you do get opportunities when it just sits there from time to time to grab the shot. And that's where I have to stress to you, if you are going to try this, you've got to practice your focusing. Bungie will probably keep still, but he's a massive spider, so you don't really need macro lens for him. You want to see Bungie? Everybody likes Bungie. Okay, let's see Bungie will play ball. Each spider has its own personality as well. Now, the advantage with Bungie is he's bigger, but he's also old, so he doesn't move too well. I don't think his knees work very good. The other thing as well is the light that I'm using. It's a modelling light on the flash. Sometimes it mesmerises the spiders and they just stare at it sometimes. I'll check my exposure on that. Go jumping. Yeah, I thought so. With a male jumper spider, because they're black, it confuses the camera and the camera thinks it's getting the correct exposure when it's not. And what I'm looking at is the shadows. So we're looking at underneath him and where his eyes are. I'm not bothered about blowing out the background so much, as long as I get the detail of him himself. Yeah, there we go. Yes, manual focus. Yeah, let's just check the focusing. I'm hoping it's out of focus. Because it'll lead me on to my next technique. Now it's in focus. So, what you're going to find very frustrating is it looks like it's in focus, but it's not when you look at it on the computer. And it's because the minute movement from either the spider or yourself can knock it out of focus. So what I want to do is show you a method for capturing better shots, okay? And it's what I like to call spray and pray. You spray and you pray, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up to silent sequential, and we are literally going to spray and pray. Now, for this to work, I have to take the flash off TTL because TTL can't keep up. So I'm just going to go back to a single shot, and I'm not going to take the spider out the cup. I just want to get the exposure correct. Yep. Well, the wife has bought me a manicure set, so I'm going to be manicuring later on, okay? Right, so I took a picture of my finger because it's easier to do that than to try and get a picture of the spider. So now we know that's set up. I'm at 1/16th power, silent sequential. You might have sequential. The difference between those two, sequential is a mechanical shutter, and the other one is silent shutter. Okay, so it's silent, and that's the one we're going to use. And what I'm going to do is this is a similar method to doing focus stacking, except I'm going to be pulling out one image from these shots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take pictures of Bungie, and then I'm going to move the camera in and out, and hope to God we got one that's in focus. And this is the way you can do it if you're new to macro, if you're unsteady on your feet and you can't use a tripod. This is the technique I would say to use. Well, at least one of them's got to be in focus. So yeah, you can see how thin, razor thin, the depth of field is. So there, you've only got those few hairs that are in focus. So what you would do then, it's in your computer, you'd go through and you look for the one that's in focus, which that looks about right. Yeah, there you go. Is that in focus, Lee? Yeah. So that is the spray and pray method. So for maximum detail in macro photography, we have to overcome the shallow depth of field that comes with macro photography, and to do that we have to focus stack. So that is a technique that we use, just like I showed you just, where we take a bunch of images at different focus points, and then we take the sharp images from each image sharp pixels, sorry, from each image. And we put it all together in one image, so it's sharp throughout the entire shot. And here's the difference here. We're using a damselfly as an example. On the left is a single shot, and I believe the only thing in focus is that water drop just there. Yeah. Then 100 images later, we get the one on the right after it's been processed. That's 100 images. Macro photography is for everybody, okay? I usually say guess the gear, but you're going to all guess this one because you've probably seen the presentation before. Basically, we can do the same thing on our iPhones. So technology has come a long way since I started macro photography. Here's a shot on the iPhone. Hyacinths are great for macro photography because it's a long stack and it allows your subject to hide and get settled down. So if you, for instance, if you just put a ladybird on a hyacinth plant, you get a red ladybird, put it on a blue hyacinth plant so it stands out, and all you do is just chase it around the flower because it'll find somewhere on the flower to settle down. You just take the picture. Okay, that's the jumping spider we've just photographed. We've got a regal jumper spider over there, which is the female version of Bungie here, and then we've got Bungie down the bottom there. These are all taken on an iPhone, and the Bungie one is a 25 image focus stack on an iPhone. I use currently, it's called a reflex lens. Okay, that's the lens there. Little lens that attaches to my iPhone. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you this on the screen, so you might have to just come up and have a look, but if I move this out the way, I'll try and get it from the side here. There you go. And there's Bungie on the phone. The only downside to the iPhone method is you have to have continuous light, so you need powerful lights. And currently, we're limited to 12 megapixels on the iPhone. Come on, Lee. Come on, we have to encourage him. He's a bit shy. Come on, Lee. Right, so I'm going to turn him round.
Where's he gone?
Right now, he's right there. Can you see him?
Where? Yeah, got him.
You got him?
Now take it down.
Go on, nail the shot. You're on sequential, so just hold it down.
Oh,
He's moved. He's coming towards you.
I got him. Leave him there. No! I am moving.
Right, try it now.
What if you don't move? Oh, I've got 100 shots there. That's brilliant. Listen, can I make sure that everybody has a look at these? Because if you use some, you know who's the am. Go on.
Do it again. Have another go. Come on.
Anyone else want to have a go? Just for the viewfinder. Yeah, so you can use your viewfinder, or you can just hold it like that if you want to. Yeah? You got it? I'll get ready to capture him. Okay, so move it forward. There we go. Okay, there we go. Right then, so anyone else want to have a look at Bungie? He's done. He's done. Thank you for sticking to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe and click the like button. It really does help out the channel. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for their continued support in supporting me and this channel. If you're interested in joining Patreon, then check in the description below this video for a link to Patreon. If you want to continue watching my macro journey, then click one of the videos in front of you now.